as one school just said to us, connection over content.
Yeah. But you don't ever hear about that one good apple could always transform the whole rest bag of the apples. That's the teacher.
It's 200 schools, over 40,000 stories of transformation that we have been able to be a part of.
Building in each room, in each building, a room in each building,
building
in each room. Yeah. What kind of world is this?
We're building.
Hey, welcome back, family, to another episode of Conscious Educators, the Heart-Centered Classroom. I'm Rodney Salomon, and I'm here with my soul brother, Mike, the real deal Mills. And today, we are celebrating a special episode as we talk about our 10 years of SOULutions, our 10 years of operating Conscious Youth Development Service, speaking on the service of how we've transformed schools, communities, and lives over this past decade of really doing this work from the heart.
I like that, Brother Rob. But can we just clarify, when we say 10 years of SOULutions, are we talking about solutions or SOULutions?
SOULutions. Yeah, you gotta get that trademark. I've seen some podcasts out there. We see some shirts out, but it's cool. That's inspiration, and that's what we in the game for, man.
Yeah, and it's really a moment to pause, reflect, and honor the journey we have been on. So over the past decade, we've been in over 200 schools throughout the state of New Jersey, maybe one or two outside of the state as well. And we facilitated countless programs, assemblies, staff developments, parent workshops, and we witnessed incredible impact and transformation amongst the lives that we have served. And it's been so much in a beautiful way when mindfulness, healing, and all this comes into the classroom, comes into a school environment. We're able to see the possibility of what education can be. And let me ask you this. Do you remember the start of the journey in our school-based program?
I think it's going to be two stories, but I think we can make this a part of our check-in because I want to make sure we keep the same structure and routine. It's not in there, though, but I'm going to make sure we get it in there. Is, Brother Mychal, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst, where are you at right now? And what is something that you are most proud of in our 10 years of work in school-based programming in Conscious Youth Development Service?
Okay. I'm about a 4.88. Feeling really good. I got some really good sleep last night, so rest has been really a priority, especially in this transition of seasons. But what am I most proud of? I'm most proud of the general impact that we've had. Our ability to be in a school for one day, for 1 hour, and create an impactful experience that transforms lives.
Yeah.
I say that because there's one time in Ocean Township, I had a young queen come up to me after the assembly, and she said throughout her time in therapy, all the years in therapy, no one told her that she had power within herself. And I remember that story, and she said, "You're the first person who told me I had the power to transform myself." And I'm just like, wow, that's like, that's step one for us, right? Just letting individuals know you have the power and you are empowered to transform your life. So that's definitely been a transformational experience that I'm proud of that we've been able to facilitate. What about you, Brother Rob?
Yeah, I would say after we do these back to back, and I'm like a 4.4 now after doing that first conversation and grounding in just talking about stress and how we have the ability to share meaningful things. So that definitely boosted my energy. And proud, I think there's so many prouds, but one thing that I'm very proud of regarding our work in school base is like just something that came to my mind. We had that young men's circle. And was that June? It was June. We had like a group of men come over, and
Middle school, high school?
It was at our wellness center, and a couple of old students were there. Shout out to Reggie. Shout out to my mom went blank. What's the brother's name? Anthony, yeah, man. But just hearing them reflect, and they knew me before kids even really existed, and I was just really passionate about this work around mindfulness, connecting with ourselves, healing our trauma, and hearing them share reflections of the inspiration that was planted within their hearts from over 10 years ago really brought like a tear to my eye. I was like, wow, like that's the real joy, because schools, they want you to do things right now. But I've learned in doing this work, every seed has its season. Every flower has its time to blossom, and really having that ability to realize that we may come in for one day, for 1 hour, but we have bumped into kids 5 years later who said that assembly, that workshop, that 6-week program is still part of me to this day, and it's part of the reason why I do X, Y, Z. And that's the really thing that brings a lot of joy to my heart. So
yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I'm gonna just jump on that and ask you, what about our school-based program journey really comes to mind and heart as you reflect back 10 years in the making?
It's interesting when you said that. My mind, this is us probably as we first started to put our mycelium network into the school programming. I recall I was a youth development specialist working at Asbury Park High School. We were doing kids for about 3 years now, just doing the passion work, the community work. And I remember Miss Alicia De Lorenzo, Mr. Dortisant, the soccer coach at the time, Mr. Marsico, and one of the guidance counselors. We all had like these underground meetings during their break periods, just talking about how we can really bring more wellness and more SEL. And I was like, hey, I'm learning this mindfulness stuff, this yoga. I was reading the Goldie Hawn curriculum and showing like, hey, there's ways that we can integrate this, whether it be through mindfulness lessons or mindfulness activities. And we started to put a plan together around how we can better service Asbury Park School District. And Ms. De Lorenzo at the time had her ear in Dr. Repollet, a former superintendent of Asbury Park High School, former Department of Education head at the state level. And she planted the seed, and I remember recalling having a great amount of say in influencing the direction of that went out, and she got that idea to be brought to life, and that was what really gave us our first full-time school-based opportunity, because I left my job that year. I knew they needed somebody, wasn't guaranteed, and we were able to leverage a contract to begin to do a higher level. So I know it's not the inception point of us working with schools, but when you ask that question, what memories stand out to me, that was one that really stood out to me. But I know you have more close to the origin point and the origin spaces that really helped shape and mold us to get the programming we had in Asbury Park. So what was that for you, Brother Mychal?
Honestly, I remember the energy of our first school-based programs. And we thought we knew what we were doing, but we really didn't. And the kids let us know that right off the bat. And it was just beautiful because like the energy of the room, as chaotic as it was sometimes, it was beautiful. Because I was like, oh, beyond this lesson plan, this is the lesson plan. This is the connection. And that's when we started really prioritizing connection over the lesson plan.
Yeah.
Right. Or as one school just said to us, connection over content.
Yeah.
Right. And realizing that this connection means so much more. Right. And let me meet you where you are, and let's start there.
Yeah.
So I remember just like doing anything and everything, and just like
jumping jacks, squats.
We had so much fun. It helped bring my inner child out too, because it was no longer this strict authority figure who was supposed to lead the session. It was like we're all leading, right? And we're leading, and we're mirroring one another, and we're building off of one another, and that became the lesson, right? The moments where they thought we should have been angry or upset, and we didn't get angry or upset, and we met each opportunity, each obstacle with love. That became the lesson plan. And I'm like, okay, this is all we have to do is just be us and be who we are. And then when we step into that space, it really just sets a tone for everything we do.
I think those are very powerful statements that you just made, because I myself, at least I can speak from I statements, sometimes would feel deflated. Sometimes be like, wow, this breathing and this diet changing and this way of life is so transformative. But when we're meeting kids where they were at, we were learning like, hey, we're going to have to be innovative. We're going to have to think outside of the box. I remember we were using, we certified ourselves in mindful schools 500 the training course. It was $500, not 500 hours. That was a big pay. Me and my like, we gonna buy this? I'm like, this is like half our budget right now. And we was like, okay, and we saw the transformation. I saw the beauty of what they put in, and even the hidden the spirit they integrated into it in a very scientific way. But when we got into these classrooms with these folks who were dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of, they call it ADD, hyperactivity, we realized very soon that, this curriculum alone is not going to be enough to support them, and we had to tailor it into the needs, and it evolved over time. We'll talk about it briefly later on, but we got introduced to restorative practices. We got introduced into more movement practices, and we ended up creating this own hybrid of a curriculum that really met the students' needs at where we at. So it was definitely a beautiful journey. Now, Brother Mychal, we talked about it, you said it earlier, over 200 schools that we've been in, and we're going to bring this formal list out because we've been saying this for a while, and we're mapping it, the details, work with thousands of students, educators, and parents. When you hear that number, right, what does that really mean to you?
Well, I'll just say over 40,000 educators and students throughout the state of New Jersey, and parents as well, and 200 schools. But as I look back and I look at those numbers, it's humbling because it shows us what we've done, but it really is like it's 200 schools, over 40,000 stories of transformation that we have been able to be a part of. And I never, and we talk about our model's empowerment, right? I can't do it for you. You have to do it for you. So we empower you to transform yourself. But hearing those stories, hearing educators, parents, and especially youth come back years later and just say how much that experience transformed me, whether it be a one-time assembly or whether we've been doing this program for consistently every week in your building. And it's just really hearing the transformation and seeing it happen over generation that has been impactful. Right? Because students will eventually graduate and become young adults, and you hear them, they'll come back in the community and talk about how transformative you were, your presence and everything, and how they were probably a knucklehead back then. They didn't really get it, but now I get it now. I get everything you were trying to teach me, and I'm there. Right? So it's been those moments that really have inspired me to do more because, 200 schools throughout the state of New Jersey, 40,000 youth, educators, and parents. Imagine what that looks like globally. So I know.
What's beautiful though, of those 200 schools, people get shocked that when we say this, we have never reached out to a school and said, hey, let us bring your programs into your building. Every one of those schools have been word of mouth, have been an educator going to a new school, a counselor knowing another counselor at a SAC meeting, a principal having a principal meeting and say, hey, you need to bring these. And that's what I think really humbles me. It was like, every time I got deflated and we get another email, we get another phone call, we get another text. And I'm like, this is something that life, spirit, a higher power saying, we need to bring this in to your building and really support you guys in that capacity. And we've done a lot. So
I'm going to ask you this, Rod, because we talked about the bigger impact, on a micro level. What's a moment when you realize, especially our school-based program, we were doing what we were supposed to do, what we were meant to do?
Man, moments that really, but I think one thing that really stood out to me is our first year working at Asbury Park School District, we were fully there for the students, more in particular the students that they labeled at risk, we like to say youth who need more support, and those who were the top 20% in suspension, detention, write-ups, absenteeism, and really seeing the love from that. But the following year, when we started working in school and started working with the educators, we got a lot of pushback. Even when we were doing the youth programs, but I guess we weren't infringing upon the comfort zone of the larger populace. And that first year in Asbury Park, working educators, it was a rough one, especially in the middle schools and in the elementary school. And in the high school, that's hard because I was already working in there for 7 years, so they kind of knew who I was. But in those other schools, it was a whole new frontier. But our third year, And then the fourth year and the fifth year, especially after the pandemic, and seeing the 180 that took place with a lot of educators that saw the value, even though they didn't agree with it, they didn't like it, they saw the impact in some of the roughest kids in that building going through transformation. I was like, oh, this is what we need, because a lot of people don't know Asbury Park was like our brainstorm, our think tank, where we saw what worked, we saw what didn't work, and what we found that did work, we would bring that out to the other schools that would call us out and give them smaller pieces. And seeing that educator support and recognizing how that was even more impactful than working with students one-on-one was like, oh yeah, this is why this is valuable. You know what I'm saying? So definitely stands out. And I'm curious, right? I'm taking your question, but why is the work that we are doing in schools, why is that important? Why is that something that's critical in this day and age where everything's so academic focused and test scores and placing the highest you can get and being the number one in the state? Why is this soul work needed in this day and age?
The first thing I'll say is, since we've been doing this over a decade, and our school-based programs over the last 7 years, 6, 7 years, 7, 8 years, we've been able to see the change in schools over time. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, back in 2014, when we first started the organization, a lot of what we're talking about was foreign to schools. You know, talking about mindfulness, social emotional learning. It was very foreign to schools at that time, at least the schools in our environment in New Jersey. And they were like, oh, okay, we're good. We can bring in some drug programs and this, that, and the third to fulfill that requirement. But here we are, almost 2 years out of a pandemic, and we realize, okay, what we saw as far as our observation and our obligation, what was under the surface, is now public and open. And so what's critical for us is to understand that we still have a high need of emotional awareness and regulation in schools. We still have a high need for individuals to be in community, to be in safe spaces where they belong, where they show up and they matter, their presence matters in the classroom and in the school. And we really need everyone to be on board with that, because a lot of us, what we've seen during the pandemic and definitely after, a lot of individuals were suffering pre-pandemic, but they're definitely suffering now. And it's too much to hold in our bodies now. Yeah. Right? Because now education, because me educating off of my pain, right? And me and students, I'm learning in pain, which we know we don't learn under stress, right? You know the brain science around that. So we're not really learning in stress, but we're constantly coping. And we're hoping for the next moment to be better when we can create that right now by just being authentic and being who we are. So, you know, I just say, you know, the biggest thing we need is stronger connections to ourselves and to community, and showing these valuable tools. I don't want to use simple and practical now, because I think they're invaluable as far as our well-being and how that can change the trajectory of our lives.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And being that this is a mental health crisis, this is 3 years post-pandemic, almost 4 years, our current education system is not equipped to deal with the emotional energy that is in their buildings, right? And I think when we did in Asbury Park, we had a lot of innovative approaches to navigate. Like I'm a social worker, right? I got a master's in health management, so it's not the alphabets that you typically find in this work, but we were getting a lot of love and respect from those folks with the alphabets at the end of the name. And, you know, some of the innovations that we were able to integrate in these 10 years was one inspired by Holistic Life Foundation and what the work they were doing in Baltimore City schools. We brought a similar approach from what I knew from my school-based approach, and what we felt was the needs of the students was our mindful moment room in Asbury Park. And what that was transformational, right? We had a space, a building in each room, a room in each building, a building in each room. What kind of world is this?
We were building something.
A room in each building in all 5 of their schools where youth can take moments, 15 to 25, sometimes it'd be 30, sometimes it'd be 40, right? But it was not intentional to waste their time in the academic setting, but was to strengthen them to return into the academic setting as a better version of themselves. And in those spaces, it was not your typical classroom setup. We would have cushions, mats, different things from the smell goods or the diffuser, essential oils, sound tools, little fidget toys, sand, and different things to kind of take you away from this standardized structure of school. And they would spend time. We made sure that our staff would become grounded. They would do a practice before their day began. They'd be centered because we recognize the power of coherence and co-regulation. They would check in with the youth. They would see where they were at. They would give them some space, sometimes 5, 10, 15 minutes to do some art, to sit down, to disconnect from kinetic sand. And then we would follow up and invite them to do a practice. And sometimes they would do practices. Sometimes they would not do a practice. And then we would leave them with a checkout questions focusing on SOULutions, right? And during our time, Asbury Park is only a district of about 1,400 people at the peak that we were inside the building. We had over our seven years there, and our program for the Mindful Moment Room was probably 5 years of very deep operations. I'll say maybe 4 after the pandemic. Over 8,000. These are duplicated visits in all of our schools, right? Our highest peak was in the middle school where it was needed the most. They were getting about like 2,000 visits a marking period or semester. I gotta double check that.
Yeah.
We gotta get my fact check myself.
I remember it's like almost 20 to 30 a day.
Yes.
Right? Where it's like, okay, how do we slow this down so we can be more intentional? But yeah.
Oh man, but that was a transformational approach, and the results we saw, like, yes, and this is we are tasked with a job where our focus is on the soul, with the importance of helping them show up academically. And we had results on the academic. We reduced suspension rates. We had students being less written up. But what we saw were individuals who became better humans in life, where the relationships that were cultivated in Asbury Park. I have kids walk up to me now. It's like, man, y'all still doing that mindful moment room? It's like, man, I don't realize how beneficial it was having a moment to just have space so that I can respond and not react, and having an environment. Like, kids would start coming in, like, they would call it cutting class, and I say maybe that was cutting class every now and then, but they were like, man, it just feels good to be in here. It just feels good to be around you guys. And that's when we started seeing in real time this science of heart math and heart. I'm like, oh, we're creating a field of frequency that embodies a level of rest and relaxation and calm. And we had another innovative program you want to tell us about, Brother Mychal. It was our Conscious Classroom.
Conscious Classroom.
Spread out beyond this Asbury Park, that we actually did a lot of work in schools around us.
Yeah, so let's paint this picture. So we're working in Asbury Park. We had the Mindful Moment Room where the school would give us typically the most energized or challenging students in the building, right? And we're meeting with them for X amount of sessions during a semester or marking period. And then, you know, at some point, because we're working with only a small population, right? And these kids are getting special attention. I remember this as clear as day. We're in Thurgood Marshall Elementary School. And a girl comes up to me, says, how come so-and-so can always leave the classroom and come to your room? And she's looking in the classroom too, because it looks fun in there. It looks fun. Like, we had things going on.
Yeah, with a great time.
Beanbag chairs and things like that. And it looks fun. And she's like, how come I can't come with you? It's like, well, you're doing a great job in the classroom, so we'll just keep you there. She looks me dead in the eyes. She says, I know what I need to do to come see you. And I was like, no, you're going to start tearing up. And we found a tray. And it, you know, I don't want to make it seem like it was just because they wanted to get out of class, because I think these kids really, a lot of our youth really felt our presence in the classroom that we held. And to be in a calm space amongst not just a chaotic school, but a chaotic community where historically there's a lot of violence and drug use and things happening in a community, and they're able to find a safe space to find refuge and to be themselves. So that helped us reframe our mind, say, hey, the entire building needs to feel our essence.
Not just the kids that label bad.
Yeah, so and so that started what we call Conscious Classroom, and that's where, you know, over a semester we'll at least give 6 to 8 sessions to each classroom
Market
in
period,
the building.
9 weeks.
Right, and we're working in every classroom. We're actually going to the classroom, facilitating these lessons around social emotional learning, mindfulness, restorative practices, but really just helping them connect. And allow them to actually experience these tools that can really transform their lives. So
Yeah.
everyone has the ingredients of self-awareness and self-regulation in the building. So now it's not just for the quote-unquote at-risk students. We call them at-promise students, the beautiful kids in the building. It's for everyone. And we all need it because there's quiet kids in the classroom who are suffering too, right? We've had kids come up to us and say, hey, how come they get to leave the classroom, but we're in the classroom suffering with them,
Yeah.
day in and day out. I need to work on this too. So all these students are deserving of their own well-being and to be at peace within themselves. So that was the power of Conscious Classroom. And it helped us shift our awareness. So, we talked about the students that we work with, those small group of students. We talked about the student body that we work with. And we've also had an opportunity to work with staff in the building. So, Rod, can you walk us through why our work with educators is important?
Man, I learned this is a Hermetic principle: as above, so below; as within, so without. And the student is not the one that is the anchor of the classroom. They could be like that one bad apple could spoil the bunch, right? But you don't ever hear about that one good apple could always transform the whole rest bag of the apples. That's the teacher. The teacher has the ability to really control the direction of energy within the classroom. And we see this all the time. Jaquan in classroom A, acting a fool, teachers dysregulated, whole class is chaotic. They calling us in, bring kids into so-and-so room. We got Jaquan next block in classroom B. Teacher's grounded. She knows how to connect with them. Jaquan's not perfect, but you watching the environment, it's like, oh, wow, it's very clear. It is whoever the teacher is that's going to be able to ride the waves of that emotional energy until they kind of calm down. And we soon realized from a Mindful Moment program, we were saying kids regulated, grounded, and centered back to their class. And then the bell would ring, and within 5-10 minutes, sometimes they'd be coming back to our program. I'm like, yo, what's going on? And they, Miss So-and-so getting all up in my face. Miss So-and-so is doing ... Miss So-and-so still taking personal that so-and-so what you did last week is still being held against you this week. And I get it. We're human, right? And we learn in restorative justice, shaming the behavior, not the individual. But we had to integrate these same principles into the educators as well. And it actually had a great residual impact when we shared with them about the science of trauma. It's not what's wrong with that child. Now their mindset's around what is happening to that child, right? And from there, we integrated restorative practices and shaming the behavior, not the individual. How do we look at these folks to let them be reintegrated by understanding what you need? How can you use affective statements to speak on how you feel when these things happen and create a level of languaging and started to just make them be well. We focused 1 year fully on heart math and heart coherence and how their emotional energy is influencing the classroom, and even being in sometimes a difficult district where you have no hope and you think the leadership has control of everything. Our model is always from the inside out. So no matter who is winning your superintendent, no matter who is winning this election, did you win? Are you winning on the inside? Are you able to show up in a way that creates a coherent field? And it was a lot of pushback. We might be balder right now due to having to navigate the complaints, and every time a student would not be in class, they blame the Mindful Moment room, and that's a whole nother conversation. But we kept consistent, we kept plugging on, we kept building relationships, we kept building connections, and over that time, these teachers were like,
Bless you.
I'm gonna cut that out.
That's real life, family.
Over that time, we were able to build relationships where folks who were against this for their own personal biases and belief were just like, yo, man, keep trucking. Like, we know that our school is this way because you're there. And the fact that when the pandemic hit and they got cut on budget and they didn't have the ability to bring us back into the building, it was like, we need KYDS back in the district. They saw the impact that we were making. They saw the transformation that was happening to the youth. And when we were not there, due to that, because they didn't want us there because of funding and having to buy all these different air filters and masks that they had to put into the school, we couldn't be in the building, right? And they saw the impact of our need, which is why we realized it has to be not even just the staff. We learned over these 10 years, it has to be the leadership in the building. And I wonder if there's anything you want to touch on that, because we were given that knowledge and information in 2017 at that training in Omega, when they're like, when you approach a school, yeah, you'll get the students first, yeah, you get the teachers, but it's the leadership. And that's the model, as above, so below.
Yeah, we've seen school buildings change drastically, depending on what leader is in the building, right?
Yeah.
And the superintendent is walking through the building, and how, if that individual is dysregulated, how it creates a dysregulated building. There's more fights in the building. There's more stress, anxiety, anger in the building. And that's when we really realize, our approach, it's in our name, Conscious Youth Development Service, but we need to work with everyone surrounding that youth. And we need to create an ecosystem of wellness in those buildings. So, with the leaders, we have to work with the leaders in the building. We have to work with the leaders, the central office. We have to work with the educators and staff, and we have to work with the students as well. And I do want to lift up this piece too, because we did a lot of this work in Asbury Park. When we say educators and staff, we really mean everyone in that building.
Yeah.
Right? Because the lunch lady has an effect on that child. The security has an effect on that child. The janitor, custodians have an effect on that child, and sometimes more of an effect than the educators do.
Yes, they do.
Right? And they also have an opportunity to actually trickle some knowledge or some love on that child in ways that the educator can't. So we have to understand everyone who's in that building needs to be well for that building to be well. And so that really helped us really create programs that are super intentional for everyone in the building. Parents, community, because they certainly need it. This child is a reflection of the parents. I'd share one quick thing, at its worst, I'm like, I see a child getting sent home from school out of Barak Elementary. So Barak Elementary School, this child has to be like second grade, maybe first. Okay. They got in trouble for cussing someone out in the building, right?
Before Barack Obama's No Child Left Behind.
And it might have been just like, how you call your parent to pick you up, There's loopholes around this. But so the parent picks up the child, and the parent is cussing that child out on the way home from school.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, do you not see your influence on that child and why they're showing up in school the way they are? So we realized that, parents need to be a part of this conversation too. They need to be a part of his well-being too, and the whole ecosystem. So adults, leaders, educators, parents, everyone has to be well for this child to grow and thrive into their uniqueness of who they can be in this world. So
big shout out to Long Branch School District, Kingsburg School District, Hope Academy Charter School, and those are some of the I would say those schools in particular, we've integrated our whole framework of staff, students, parents, in different capacities. And, I love schools that they recognize the success is not in the quantity, but in the quality. Because we've done parent workshops where one parent shows up, but that one parent is leaving in tears. And this one parent is beginning to look at themselves in ways that they haven't looked at before. And
talking to other parents.
Talking to other parents and getting more parents to show up, because it's a new frontier. So it is really amazing what you mentioned. We learned through real time how we can't just center on students as much as we're called kids because we were focused on youth. But as we got deeper into our work, met one of our first supporters, Paul, he sat us down and says, when you're doing this work, yes, you're focusing on youth, but don't forget about the parents, the families. Don't forget about the community. Don't forget about the leaders, because each of them plays a significant role in the impact. And I know we're speaking about a lot of highlights, and we could probably speak on this for some time, but really, in all the beauty of all this, Brother Mychal, can you really begin to think about, man, what were some of the tougher moments? Because I know we have moments in doing this work and partnering with schools, maybe even a time where you felt like, man, is this really what I should be doing? And what helped you develop the energy to keep wanting to move forward and really say, you know what, I'm not going to let this be it.
I think there were several moments where I look within and ask, is this actually working in schools, right? Or is this just get out of class free and then, have some
you got 20
fun,
kids in that room
and,
at one time.
And I think these are crucial questions that you begin to ask yourself and reflect on that really spark the answer and show you the answer in real time. And it was the transformation of youth. That's a simple answer. It's a transformation of youth. It's a transformation of educators. and hearing them talk about what's happening inside of them on a physiological level, like on a deep somatic level, what they're actually experiencing around being around us, step one, and then just being able to use some of the tools that we were bringing into the space, step two. I'm like, wow, okay, we do have an effect on you, and it's a subtle effect too. I want to lift that up because when you're doing this work in inner city communities, and there's a lot of crime, a lot of violence in those communities, it may be just as subtle as I didn't pick up that weapon that night.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't
take that ride.
Whatever it may be. And we've heard these stories. And that's the beautiful thing about it, because it's like, okay, you know, I could look back at so-and-so and then look at so-and-so and what they would have been if we weren't in their lives.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you'd have been out there game banging. You would have been out doing this, that, and the third. And seeing the trajectory, hearing their stories, hearing them being able to reflect, like, I probably would have been out there doing what so-and-so, my friend who just passed away, right? Or I might have been in that car with him. And so, and hearing that where they are now, I'm just like, I'm proud of you. I'm super proud of you.
Yeah.
Right? And not just because of our impact, because you did it for yourself. Right, because there's one thing to sit with a child and or an adult, because we have a lot of adult testimonies too, and say, oh yeah, you took everything we taught you, but no, you did it. You walked that path for yourself, for your family, for your community, for your school, and you know that's where it's like, oh, okay, we're doing what we're supposed to do, and what we're doing is landing and transforming lives.
Yeah, no, that's real. Am I worthy enough?
Yeah. Am I worthy enough? But I reflect back to you, Brother Ryan, and ask you, you know, what are some of the challenges that you've seen us overcome as an organization, maybe in schools, but what are some of those challenges, and how did we overcome them?
Yeah, I'm not going to echo to everything that you said regarding, like, man, is this even working? And I think I share that Anthony Thwaren story all the time when his girlfriend's like, I'm like, oh, kids not doing nothing in the classroom. People always leaving comments. Oh, we were on someone's Twitter one page, kids doing some savasana relaxation. They're like, oh, what they doing nap time inside there? You know what I'm saying? Like, my ego would feel.
As a board member, right?
We don't forget. It's kind of like when you get drafted in the 10th pick, and then you can name every single player that was drafted before you. But I would definitely say, man, like the biggest challenge I would say for me, and I think it's made us stronger, is stepping into leader, because we both knew if it was just me and Mike going into a classroom, we was gonna figure it out. But when we got invited to be in all 5 schools, when we went from being in 2 schools, we were like, oh, we can't be in all 5 schools. 2 schools 5 days a week, and other 2 schools 2-3 days a week. We had to build a team. So it really stretched me as a leader. And I know what to do, but now can I show someone else how to do this? And we learned very quickly. This is not like McDonald's or Starbucks or Quick Check, right? You can't just say, here's the blueprint. You come in we had to transform. We had to learn how to transform others in their training and development and their own embodiment to be able to show up authentically to transform those that they serve. And dealing with humans, as all folks know, and their own stuff, you get a lot of different things. But I think one of our staff members no longer with us, shout out to Ariel, she was like, yo, like, what you guys do with staff is something I've never been a part of. She's got a lot of different containers and education in school, and when she gave that comment, as deflated as I felt, I was like, oh, she's like, you should look into bringing this into other educational institutions, how you run staff meetings, how you develop training, how you build connection. I was like, oh, so clearly we're doing something that is in alignment and that is right. And that was something that really made us realize that, oh, we have to continue to breed this model out, which led to Conscious Educators, which led to this podcast, which led to where we are today. So there's a lot of shadows, and even dealing with school paying, right? Schools don't pay you like a paycheck. You might do a service in November. You might not get paid until like February. But when we first started off, not having all the deep reserve in a bank account, there were months that me and Mike didn't even pay ourselves a penny. Right, the month that my child's about to be born, but we found a way to continue to move through. It was like God was testing us, and it was asking us, like, okay, how bad do you really want to do this? What are you willing to do to get to this point, to be a support, to continue doing this work? And I'm sure we got 1,000 more challenges, but we on the tail end of this celebration.
I say another one is This is funny because you walk in the buildings and you just feel the vibe when you walk through the building. It's like, do you even want us here? Do you want us here? Do you paid us to come here? Do you want us here? The kids want us here, but do you want us here? So, the adults. Another thing for the adults, in the admin offices, and we all have to get it. We all have to, connect to our why and why we actually chose to be in this place where we are now, and why did I choose this profession, or why does this profession choose me, and how can I really live in an awakened state as I travel through this journey?
Yes, it's a lot, man. Am I worthy enough? Am I good enough? And 10 years now, like we're not full-time in the Asbury Park school-based program. We're still heavily involved and influenced in the Asbury Park community in regards to providing that service and work. But we're on a new frontier, and we're really at a point where we're really creating a fork in the road where our identity is being firmly rooted in our community work, where we started on this journey, but also firmly implanted because we see the need even to this day, from the assemblies that we do, the staff developments that we do, to the parent workshops that we do, how much that is needed in these schools. And we're at a point where we're reinventing that vision, and we're really planting seeds for the future of who we are going to identify with and how we truly impact and continue to serve in ways. And as we celebrate these 10 years, as we're looking ahead and we're opening our community wellness center, right? It feels like the culmination of this moment in time. What does this new chapter mean for you, Brother Mychal?
It's a new chapter of awakening for me. That's what it means. It just really means that, after a decade, I would have hoped, within ourselves, I know we have proven our organization to be not just impactful, but transformative in a lot of different lives. And I hope those who bear witness are continuing to pass that on to whether they're students or, their families or the communities or the young ones that we're working with now, who some of them are coming back into education as educators, right? Yeah. And it's a name you mentioned earlier. Shout out to Jaquan. He wasn't a bad child, yo. He was a good one.
That's about different Jaquan.
But I think this new chapter is how we fine-tune everything. How do we remain disciplined in our essence? And how do we structure ourselves in a way where we can have, exponential impact throughout the world, right? Because if you want to have bigger impact, you have to build a bigger house and bigger structures in that house. So that's where we are as leaders, is really starting to think about, how do we create more conscious workers? Yeah. Right. And how do we collapse time too? Because it took a lot of training, a lot of hours to actually
a lot of staff pay.
Yeah. How do we transform individuals, and how do we allow individuals to be still transforming, bring that transformation in their community? So there's a lot of structure and house building, architecture that's happening, blueprint planning that I'm thinking about strategically, of how do we continue to sustain this impact and in the ways that we know the world needs it.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo that. Like we talk about this often now, these past few weeks, it's more about strategy. It's like we don't have to do anything more. We have to do what we do better. And I look at this like models like Scholastic and these different how do we begin to truly create content? How do we ground our curriculum? How do we create our guidebook that is going to be replicable? How do we work with larger and look to scale up beyond this beautiful bubble of Monmouth County and begin to look at this thing from a strategic perspective of how we can continue to serve and add value to school districts, while we can be there working with you, but also we can be supportive and supplemental by designing our curriculum in ways that meet you, having this podcast, having our on-demand curriculums, creating more books. And that's the vision I see ourselves. While we'll still do keynotes and assemblies and workshops, we know we can't be in every single school, but I think it's a beautiful frontier to see possibilities of how we shift our approach as we kind of move into the frontier. So, there's a lot more we can share, right? But we know that this story does not end. And I look forward to us having our 20-year conversation, right? And seeing the expansion. 100 years. We're going to be like, hey, Brother Mike, you remember back in the day when we was
forever young, brother.
But we didn't do a practice, but I want to make sure that we just do something, a quick, simple practice grounding in gratitude, right? And this is just very simple. in regards to us, because we're tremendously grateful, right? Me and Mike, like, we even talk about when we left our jobs and how we picked up more jobs to build towards this job from the door. I remember kids saw Brother Mychal pull up the Five Guys. He's like, Brother Rodney, you sure Mike a vegan? I was like, he told me he a vegan. He's like, because I could have swore I saw Brother Mike at Five Guys picking up some food. And I had to pull up this side like, Brother Mike, you eating burgers now? He was like, nah, brother, I'm doing DoorDash. And I'm pulling all these different spots. So it's just like the hustle to become the hustle. Now we could probably say like
night shifts in the group home.
Oh man, yeah. And now we're doing this full time, and anything we do on the side is luxury. It's an added bonus, but it was a sacrifice that got us to this point that life said that we're worthy enough to be in this position, and now we're able to support others and get folks to actually be full time. My wife works with us. We got a great team of 6 folks. We haven't done this alone. Like, we speaking Mychal, Rodney, and kids. We speaking about the team of KYDS that made this dream. So big shout out to Erica, one of our very first hires. Big shout out to our hires that are no longer here with us. Big shout out to Jake Money, Shay, Jessica, and the team that is making this possible. The ones in the shadow, Keandra, and really helping this vision come to life, where we know we are just getting started.
Yeah.
We know that this is only the beginning. So taking the time for you to give gratitude to what you're appreciative on your journey as an educator, as a human, to where you're at, but being grateful to where you are going and where you see yourself moving into, and letting that energy amplify within your heart to strengthen your mind, to continue to guide you into what life is trying to bring into you, to show you each and every moment of the way.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. For me, I'm just grateful for this journey, the highs, the lows, and its impact on my life on a personal level.
Yeah.
What about you, brother?
Yeah, shoot, man. Like, man, I'm grateful that my children get to watch me on this journey. Like, when I asked my son what he wants to be for a living, my wife asked him one day, he's like, I want to be a firefighter and a conscious worker. And I was like, man, like, it brought a little tear to my eye. I'm like, man, because he sees what we doing in the community. He sees what I do for work every day when I come to a school, when I come to my other son's school, and it's an inspiration. And it's like, man, that's the legacy that I want to carry on and get us rocking. So I know we at the very end. We definitely got to thank our audience, thank our guests for.
Thank you for tuning in. We thank you for your feedback. We thank you for listening and really being on this journey with all of us, because this 10 years of impact is nothing without you, right? So we appreciate all of you for joining us on this journey, and we appreciate you being in this space with us and sharing space. So
yeah,
tune in next time. Yes.
But if you hearing this, man, we are having our 10-year anniversary. Should have plugged that in like 5 times in the beginning. But if you made it this far at the end, check out our event. 12/21 is going to be an experience from 2 to 3:30. We're having some sound and soul, an opportunity to really dive deep and transform yourself on the winter solstice. From 3:30 to 6 p.m., we'll be integrating some of our technology that we'll have at our center, from our brain tap to the PEMF mat, the red light therapy. And we will have a final awards event for our community members and educators from 6 to 8 p.m. So grateful,
be a beautiful time.
Excited. And I know
December 21st, family. December 21st.
we appreciate you all.
We care about you all.
And we love you all. I'll see you. Have a beautiful day, family.